Hey everybody. All right. So here we are in chapter number 10. You're probably going to notice this is not the first section. This is actually the second section of probability. Now I didn't make any lessons for probability because in my class, everything that we were doing was so hands-on that it was really hard to make to a PowerPoint, and you'll kind of see what I mean. But in this section here, just let me show you how I would do things. So for probability, first thing is the definition. It's the likelihood that an event will happen. It's expressed in a ratio from 0 to 1. And you'll notice that 0, there's a 0% chance of something happening. That means it never happens. That's like if you flip a coin, what's the chance of it landing on 7? Well, since there's no 7 on the side of a coin, it's never going to be 7. If you roll the dice, what's the chance of it being tails? Well, 0, because it's never going to be tails. 100%, it's absolutely going to happen. So that is, if I flip a coin, what's the chance of it being heads or tails? Well, it's either going to be heads or tails, so that's a 100% chance. Or if I roll a number cube, what is the chance that it is a number less than 8? Well, since there's only 6 numbers on a number cube, then there's a 100% chance. But you'll usually find that in the world, very rarely is anything 0% and very rarely is anything 100%. Usually, it's somewhere closer to the middle, which is a 50% chance. And that's where you flip a coin. What are the chances of it being tails? Well, since tails is one of the two sides, it's 1 out of 2, or perfect 50%. It happens half the time. That's usually considered fair. Now, when you go down into 1 out of 4, that's when it starts to get a little bit more unlikely. That's if you guessed on a multiple choice test, A, B, C, or D. What's the chance you're going to get the right answer? Unlikely, only a 25% chance. And 3 out of 4 is likely to happen. So what's the chance you're going to get the wrong answer on a multiple choice test if you guess? Well, that's 3 out of 4 possibilities. And so once again, that would be likely. All right, let's take a look at a couple of examples. If the weather forecast says that there's an 80% chance of thunderstorms tomorrow, what's the likelihood of the event? Well, let's see. Well, it's obviously not 0. Is it 25%? Nope, higher than that. 50%? Nope, higher than that. 75%? Really close. So it'd be somewhere in between likely and always happening. So really, really likely, I'd definitely take my umbrella that it's going to rain tomorrow. All right, let's see. The probability of landing the jump on a snowboard is about 1 out of 2. What's the likelihood of the event? As you go down, you're realizing that it's not never going to happen. It's not really unlikely. It's going to happen about half the time. It's not always going to happen. You can't say, hey, everyone, watch this. It's going to happen about half the time to be able to land that jump. It's a 50-50 chance. Now, if you flip 2 coins at the same time, what's the probability they'll both land on tails? This is called a compound event because there's 2 events happening. So we can make what's called a sample space. So if you flip 2 coins at the same time, what could happen? Well, they both could be heads. They both could be tails. The first one could be heads and the second one could be tails. And the last one could be, or the first one could be tails and the second one could be heads. Those are all the choices. So how many possibilities are there total? 4. What's the probability they'll both be on tails? Well, that one. So that would be 1 out of 4 outcomes, which is 1/4, which is 0.25, which is 25%. Do you remember what it was? Unlikely that they would be both tails. Not impossible, but unlikely. All right, flip 2 coins at the same time. What's the probability both land on, they don't land on tails? They both don't land on tails. All right, so sample space, remember our 4 choices? How many of these are not both tails? All right, so there's tails, tails. How many don't land on tails? 3 out of 4. Okay, which is likely. It's not absolutely going to happen. Could be tails, tails, but it's not likely. Or excuse me, it is likely. All right. When all possible outcomes are equally likely, the probability of an event is the ratio of the number of favorable outcomes divided by the number of total outcomes. So notice, Number of favorable outcomes, the chance that something's going to happen. Total possible outcomes. And here's why this will be the only lesson I put in chapter number 10. Because in class, we ended up doing examples 2 and 3. So check out the book, look at examples 2 and 3, and this is what we did in class today with the students. And it takes some manipulative, some hands-on activity that we were doing. So that is how come I'm not going to be putting them online. But make sure to read the book. Don't be afraid to ask your teacher if you got questions. And parents, definitely read the book this chapter. Hope that helps. Have a good one, guys.